Hi, this is Linda.
And this is Flo.
Today we got a pretty interesting podcast for you guys today. The main topic's going to be about domestic violence, but then we're going to be talking about a few other things.
Hope you guys enjoy!
Stay tuned!
This is a disclaimer that we are not professionals regarding domestic violence. These are our opinions and thoughts on the subject. At no point do we condone violence of any sort. This is just a conversation between two people. In the past weeks, there was an incident that happened between Hmong Star and her husband. She had gone viral on Facebook on an incident that took place later in the night where she had asked her husband to go run an errand. During his errand, he probably took a lot longer than he should have and came back a little bit intoxicated. It escalated into her going live and kind of going off about how her husband always comes home drunk and always comes home and starts violence. She, at one point during the live video, showed a video of a door that was knocked in. There was a hole in the door. At that time, there was an uncle that was there who was, quote unquote, trying to mediate the situation. And the live feed pretty much ended with the phone getting taken away and some words were exchanged. It sparked an alert in the community thinking that there was domestic violence that was involved, and everybody stated their opinion and tried to get got all the cops and police officers involved in the area, and it spiraled out of control.
Do you think that it was out of control though?
It varies and it depends on what the situation was. Nobody knows their life. Nobody knows. And especially when you're airing your laundry out on Facebook, on social media, a lot of people jump to conclusions not knowing and understanding what was the root cause, what kind of relationship did it have, is this common, is it not common, what really happened. A lot of people during this live feed and even afterwards was kind of asking for her well-being, and at that time they said that she was found and she was at a relative's house and she was safe. But there was also, during the live feed, they heard the uncle say, Hmong women like this needs to get beat, so beat her. That's what this mediator uncle said. We don't know if it happened. We don't know if she did get beat. We don't know if something else happened. But later on, maybe about a week after, they both did come on back on Facebook live feed and made it a public apologies and say that they're fine.
So in reference to the couple coming back on live and whether they were trying to explain the situation or whether they were apologizing, I feel that in this particular situation, it's specific to just them, that whether they want to cover it up or whether they really feel like it's part of their daily lives and they were just exaggerating at that time. That's on them. Personally, if she's gonna say that that's what happened, then I'm gonna just leave it at that, because in that particular situation, she had the time frame to get out of it, and she was out of it for a while, for a hot minute, but then she chose to go back in.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say it like that, but at the same time, she is choosing to remain in her situation. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's just them particularly. But overall, with domestic violence in a whole, just the concept of domestic violence being normalized, that's the issue. Mm-hmm. The issue is with how normalized it is within the community, that it can just be glossed over, or if not promoted or encouraged of, you know what, women like this, they should get beat. And that's coming from someone that was from her side of the family. Mm-hmm. Those were her people telling their son-in-law and encouraging this behavior, which is very, very toxic. It's not okay. Mm-hmm. And that in itself, that's what the issue is. The domestic violence. It's not their particular issue. Whether she chose to come back, whether she's choosing to cover it up, whether it really isn't anything, whether something happened or didn't happen, that's not on us to speak on. Mm-hmm. I think it's the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. But the way I see it is that if you choose to air out your laundry and people start participating in your relationship that you've made go public, you should own up to it. And understanding that you have caused a ripple in this relationship, even though you yourself didn't know that you did. And this itself gives a lot of women bad names because they're crying wolf. And because they cry wolf, it makes it harder for everybody else in the community to really distinguish and say what is really domestic violence and what is just somebody being petty. In her case, in my opinion, is that she was being petty. You know how I feel about relationship. Every relationship is different. Everybody lives differently in the relationship. Some people, they can live with a cheating wife, a cheating husband. Some people, they like to fist fight in their relationship. I'm not saying it's okay, but that's their thing. Now, if you are a person who likes to air out your laundry publicly, regardless if it's good or bad, when you get this backlash, you should own up to it and not come back and be all like, oh, well, it's okay.
Let's gloss over it.
It's okay. You know?
This didn't happen.
Right.
Y'all tripping.
Right. I mean, that's what makes the relationship work. And as a community and even as society, we shouldn't jump to conclusions until we understand what's really going on. A lot of people on social media jumped right on it, not knowing the situation, and say, call the police, report him, say that, you know, there's domestic violence. But nobody knew exactly what happened. And nobody heard the whole story before everybody jumped ship. And I noticed that with society, a lot of people like to participate in people's problems.
Everyone has a nosy side,
right.
And that's the truth of the matter. You can say, oh, well, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, prevent anything from happening. We all have good intentions. Everyone has good intentions, but deep down, you know, we're all a little nosy. That's the truth.
Right.
We want to know about other people's lives.
Right.
And if you say you don't want to know about other people's lives, that's a lie.
You're a liar.
You wouldn't be on Facebook. If that's the truth, you wouldn't be on Instagram, you wouldn't be on any social platform if you were not interested in other people's lives. The truth of the matter is, you are somewhat interested. There is a smidget of accomplishment that you get from seeing what is messed up in other people's lives.
It makes you feel good inside.
It does, and that's reality. That you can deny it all you want,
right?
But that's the truth, okay? Right. And it's not saying that we're hoping or we're trying to play hero and save her or whatnot, but just the one thing is, with her being who she was, with her status, I personally was overwhelmed with how many people did follow her. So she obviously has a large following. I'm just not part of it. But with her having a following as large as it was, and with her going live, there are repercussions to that, and there are effects from that, you know, so she should have, it's not saying that, you know, if she was gonna do that, it's kind of pointless of her to come back and be like, oh, you know, thanks for worrying, but no thanks,
right,
I'm good. I mean, I kind of feel like it's not that we're saying don't call for help. Definitely, if you're in a situation where you want to get out, call for help, but at the same time, you don't want to be that one crying wolf, because in situations where domestic violence is a serious issue, you wanting to air out something just because you want to be petty is not a good narrative for everyone else that's really struggling with it.
Right.
Whether that is a husband getting beat on by his wife, because that's still domestic violence.
Yes.
A wife beating up a husband because a husband does not lay their hands on a woman, you know, that's commendable, but at the same time, you're sitting there and letting your wife beat you. Like, that's still domestic violence. Whether they refuse to speak up because they don't want to be called, or they don't want to be demasculinized, or what it is, I mean, you're not helping the narrative when you just want to be petty. That doesn't help push us in a better direction. That's not progress. That's not what we need for the community. We need you to understand, if you really need the help and you really want to get out, that's when you really need to get out. And it's great that everyone came together in this community, because it sparked an outrage. The outrage for it was insane.
Yeah. So what, in your personal opinion, do you think about this? Like, what your true thoughts? Your true thoughts about this situation as itself. What do you think?
On this particular situation?
Yes.
On this particular situation, you know what? I don't really want to judge her life, but at the same time, I can't. It's hard not to. My personal opinion of after reading everything, it might have been a stunt, just because she got mad.
Pettiness.
I feel like
pettiness.
But I'm not saying she don't get beat. That's not what I'm saying.
Who
don't
knows?
get me wrong.
Who knows?
I don't know if she's getting beat because she obviously came on live and she's like, I tripped and fell. I mean, if you want to say you tripped and fell, then I'm going to take it as you tripped and fell. But if that's what you want to call it, then obviously you was just being petty. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be people like, oh, well, you never know what it's like to be in a domestic violence situation where they're scared to tell the truth. Honey, she had her chance to tell the truth. Mm-hmm. She had her chance.
She even got away.
She got away.
But she chose to go back on her own free will.
Exactly. So whether it's she likes to get beat, whether it's she went back because of her children, whether she went back because she couldn't provide for herself and she realized that she can't live without him, whether you want to take that as she loves him too much or financially needs him, I don't know how you take that. That's on you. But for some reason, she, on her own free will, chose to go back to him to release a video covering it up, but disregarding the matter. So in that fact, in my eyes, she just did what she did best. She was acting. She was acting. She was being a little petty about it. And that does make me upset because I know there are women and men and children in these situations where this is their life. Mm-hmm. They can't get out. Mm-hmm. This isn't something petty to them. This is for real.
It's a slap in our face.
It is. And I am petty that way. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, I'm petty that way. I'm gonna keep it like that.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm not saying I've witnessed a lot of domestic violence, but I'm saying that I've seen a few that most people who are the victims, it is scripted for them because they're like, I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose my family. I don't want to lose this and I'm being threatened. But even then, you still sense it in their eyes or see it in their body language.
There's an awkwardness to them.
Yeah, there's an awkwardness to what they said. But then to watch her and just be like, it's okay. It was a show. I slipped and fell. I got out of control. I was probably drunk too.
But at the same time, homegirl is an actress.
It's right.
So maybe she's really good with scripts.
Yeah. But then another thing that I like to put out there too is that, as I said earlier, every relationship is different.
Yes.
And what works in their relationship is what makes them and keep them together. I know some couple that likes to fist fight every day. And that's their norm. Even though it's not okay and we don't condone violence in a relationship, but to them, that works for them. Because it's their relationship and that's what makes them strong. To us, we're like, oh my gosh, we would never let our husbands or wives beat us. But to them, they're like, no, this is our norm. Same thing like other people who have cheating husbands or cheating wives. To them, it might be okay because they're probably cheating too. And it's their norm. It's what keeps their relationship okay. And who are we to say that's not okay? Every relationship is different and every relationship is healthy in its own way. As we said in the beginning, we don't condone violence. We're not saying it's okay. But just because I show you a little clip of my life, that don't mean that I'm okay with it or not okay with it. I'm just probably showing you clips of what I do every day in my life.
You know what I'm wondering? I'm wondering what she was trying to accomplish by that clip. If she was going to go back and retract it. And I'm not talking about her going to delete it. I'm talking about her posting that video willingly with her husband saying, we're together, we're good, we're kosher. Everything was just a slip of the hand, you know?
Right.
So I'm really wondering, like I said, it might have been just impulse of her just being upset. That day they were arguing so much that she's like, you know what? Let me just show you to the world and show everyone what I'm dealing with. It might have been her just like having like a little episode of a breakdown. Mm-hmm. That's why she went live. But at the same time, I'm also wondering like, what was your agenda?
She might have not thought it through. A lot of people don't think it through when they do something like that.
Was it a call for help? If it was,
or is that just you being stupid? Because I mean, you have to think of the consequences. When anybody put anything out there publicly, they should think of the consequences that comes with it, especially when it has to do with domestic violence or beating or sexual abuse of any sort at all, if you put it out there, there's going to be a reaction. And did you take in consideration of that reaction? Like, what really went through your head when you said, I'm going to show the world what a POS that you are? What people say, you're such a great husband, but I'm going to show the world you are a POS.
Right.
But does that make you the same too because of who you're with, who you choose to marry, and who you choose to spend your forever with? So does that make her a POS herself?
The way you spin it. Everybody's a little POS in their own way, whether they want to admit it or not. That's why I said we find fulfillment in watching other people fall. We're all little POSs in our own way. Some people are just more quick to admit it.
Right.
But, I don't know about that. Like I said, I think it really matters what the intent is. Just kind of like, you should know there is going to be a reaction when you do anything.
Right.
So when you post something like that, did you not think of the possible reactions of if nothing's gonna happen? I will say, okay, I don't want to just make it sound like we're attacking her, because I don't want to attack her.
No, we're not.
We're clowning on her a little bit, but at the same time, you gotta be able to laugh in the darkness. You gotta find some kind of light in the dark, and she did. Like I said, we're clowning on her, but at the same time, I don't want to make it seem like we're attacking her. It could be that, she was in a situation where her house really did get destroyed because of the actions that took place. And it was not in her control. And it's not as if she wants people to see her messy life, but at the same time, it is also what she did do. Right. Inadvertently, you showed people what you deal with on a daily. Right. I'm just saying, now people know that you were getting your butt beat. That's just what it is. It's
turns her on.
Bondage.
Shit. This is our foreplay before we go.
But that's another thing. It's just kind of like, for another reference, it's like when you call the police, you're not only calling the police, you got neighbors. You are showing your face too.
Right.
You're a couple. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, what's his baggage is your baggage, and what's your baggage is his baggage. Right. And at that point, that's one of the points where you have to sit back and think, like, do I want people to know how I live? You just wanted me to know that you get petty once in a while?
we take it to the extreme.
Like, when you get petty, you get real petty, and not to cross you? Sure, yeah, got it. Won't cross you. In that sense, that's what you did. You didn't only show his bad side, you showed yours too.
Right. You're right. And that's not okay. And people need to realize, like, there's times in my life, in my relationship, where I have to think it out and say, do I want to expose myself?
Yes.
And am I willing to, if it comes down to it, can I call quits? And if I can call quits, then I need to move forward. But at the same time, I need to understand that once I air out my laundry, there's no going back. I'm not going to retract it, because if it's something that I'm going to retract later on, then I don't need to do it.
I agree, but I feel like that is just a
life lesson, guys.
That's a personal decision, though.
Right.
Because there are some people who, they like the on and off relationships.
Right.
They like that
drama.
There are some that likes the attention of, we broke up again.
Yeah.
And then there are some that are more resolute. Nah, when I'm done, I'm done. I'm gone. No looking back.
Right.
So that's a personal, that's to each discretion.
But then that goes back to what I was saying. Every relationship is to its own. Mm-hmm. So if you like that on and off, that's on you. But don't put it out there, because at the end of the day, everybody's going to be like...
Unless you like putting it out there.
And you do, but then at the same time, you need to understand that people, at one point in time, when you do need somebody's call and help, they're not going to reach their hand out to you no more, because they're like, you know what? This is their type of relationship. She likes to get beat. Oh, he likes to get punked around. He likes his wife to control his life. He likes to do this, And then that's when you're really calling out for help, and nobody can do it. Again, another example is, I know a relationship where his wife runs on him all the damn time, but he allows it to happen that she runs on him. And then when one day he comes and he talks to me, he's like, I need help. And I'm just kind of like, what do you want me to do? I can't do nothing, because you allowed your wife to run on you. And if I step in, you're going to retract back and say, I'm the bad person. I try to interfere in your life. And so to me, I'm like, I don't know. This is your norm. Now, if it's out of the norm, I could probably step in. Like, if she came after you at a knife, then I can be like, whoa, hold on.
Whoa, lady.
Whoa, lady.
Whoa.
You're crazy. Don't go after him with a knife. But at this point, it's just like she's bickering. You allow her to bicker. She does it, and you continue to let her do it. So it's just kind of like, that's your relationship. And
it's not a healthy relationship. Nope. I don't condone it. Right. And I see that there's a lot of issues and there's a lot of toxicity.
But it works for y'all.
And, this isn't healthy. But at the same time, there's only so much I can do because I'm not the one that's in the relationship.
Right. If you want my help, then you need to stand by me while I try to help you. Don't all of a sudden push me under the bus and be like, I don't know why she said that.
Yeah, after a while, they're going to be like, we tried helping. We tried mediating. Right. A few times, but they don't want it. So at the end of the day, you do you. Right. We're not gonna step in no more. And if something unfortunate happens, we'll deal with that when the time comes.
Right.
But we are not gonna do anything to prevent it, because the past few times that we did try to prevent something from happening, nothing was done.
Right.
Or if anything, we got slapped in the face because everything that we tried to do for you, you disregarded. You, not saying that you're ungrateful for it, but at the same time, you turned and did the same thing after we tried to do all we could for you.
Right.
Okay, so stemming from that, what do you think about domestic violence as a whole, as a broader picture, in reference to the community?
Well, I'm just going to say in the Hmong community, domestic violence tends to be something that is swept under the rug.
It's not just domestic violence, it's any form of abuse.
Any form, yeah, and I understand that, and that's why I'm trying to say, in our community, men play the leading roles. And doesn't matter how the men... Violence itself in the Hmong community, it's not even domestic, just violence itself. It's something that it's accepted. Because... our parents, their parents, further generations, they don't see that there's something wrong with it. In our community, we see it as it makes you a stronger person. What doesn't kill you make you stronger. And they have this saying, 我学了现得, meaning that you should own up to it and move forward. And that's just any type of violence or abuse is not okay. So to say domestic violence in our community, I don't want to say it doesn't exist, but it exists, but it doesn't exist in the sense of they don't see it as domestic violence. They see it as disciplining your spouse or disciplining your kids or saying that I'm keeping you in line, which I know nowadays Western world is like, oh, you don't keep people in line, especially women. Women now has all the freedom and da-da-da-da. But in our community, it is the men's job to keep their family in order because they are the head, quote unquote, of the family. And whatever goes around to the community is the face of the husband. The way he raises family is how everybody sees them. He could be the dirtbag about dirtbag, but if he's out there in the community putting out face, people are going to be like, oh, he's great. He's a great guy. You want to marry his daughter, his son, because his son and his daughter has a great dad and he knows how to take the community and lead them. But in reality, they could be really crappy people as a family man. But at the same time, nobody sees that as it's wrong. They see it like they're keeping their kids in line. They're keeping their family in order.
It also depends on how much of your life you divulge.
Right.
Regardless of how great a man is, if so much of their life gets divulged, then they would be talked about and there would be that side eye of, did you hear?
Right.
You know? But that also goes back to how much of your life do you display? How fake are you?
Right.
How much can you cover up? What are you willing to show and what are you not willing to show?
Yeah.
I think in our community itself, abuse, it's not something that we encourage anyone to talk about.
Right.
As you stated, it's swept under the rug.
Right.
It's not a topic that we talk about. It's not as if it is taboo, but at the same time, it's not a concern of theirs.
Right. It's kind of like it's your reputation. You do whatever you need to keep your reputation afloat. Mm-hmm. And if that means beating your wife and telling her her place, or beating your children because they got a C instead of an A, then that's that. And it's not okay. It's not. And as we have been living here for the last 30, 40 years or more, we have evolved. The next generation has evolved on top of the next generation and has become better in knowing and understanding and identifying these issues that we are having in our community, and we want to make it better. But people who are just sitting saying that this is wrong, they're not doing anything. But the point is that it's
general.
It's general. That's just what it's being. But then as we grow up in the society that we're growing up in next generation to next generation over another generation, we can cut out the stuff that we don't feel like it's something that we need to pass along to our children.
My problem within the Hmong community specifically is the fact that it is so disregarded. Mm-hmm. It is so it's very, very under the radar. No one really talks about it. It's very dismissive. And it's not okay, whether that's verbal, sexual, physical, all forms of abuse. It's not talked about, and that's not okay. Do you
think that we should be talking about it, or should we, as a generation, we should move forward from it in silence?
No. I don't agree with moving forward in silence, and that's just because I'm petty. Because I feel like in order to correct anything, a conversation, first of all, you have to recognize that there's a problem. Mm-hmm. Second of all, you have to be able to communicate and talk about the problem. If you can't talk about the problem, then obviously you're not ready to confront it.
Right. You're right.
It's going to be very, very hard to move past something without ever talking about it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work very well. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to know what went wrong. You got to know what the issue is.
But should you continue bringing it up in order to fix it? Or is it a conversation that needs to be made, fixed, move forward, and continue to move forward versus backtracking?
Yes. What you just said there, the latter. It's a conversation that needs to be had. Points need to be heard. It needs to be fixed, and then we can move on from there. But we can't move on silently without ever talking about it first. Mm-hmm. We have to talk about it first. We have to understand, how do we fix this? The term of 我先老先得, which translates into basically
patience.
Patience.
To have patience and let it come around. It's having patience and let things work itself and let it come around. It'll be right once it comes around, when it makes its full circle.
Yeah, so the Hmong translation of 我先老先得, which basically translates to have patience, or 无视, means just put up with it. Mm-hmm. That's not a mindset that we should be promoting.
But on another note,
what's with your butt?
This is just my feelings. I might be a horrible person to think this, but maybe sometimes. It's just I am. I'm a horrible person. But for me, I like that phrase of 我学了先得为的, because sometimes it is petty. It is pettiness, and it comes down to, your husband didn't allow you to go out with your girlfriends. And now you guys got into an argument, and now you're running over to your in-laws. I think in a way that the reason why the elders keep on telling you to 我学了先得 is because sometimes it's another way of saying, let's investigate in this. Let's see what this is really about. If your husband is really truly beating you, let's really look at this and see what the cause is. Was it you? Did you beat him first? Or did he just lay his hands on you? Was it worth the altercation that happened? Not saying that, like I said, going back to domestic violence, I'm not saying that it's okay for your husband to beat you, but it's kind of giving them, as an elder, a pause to say, okay, let's wait. Let's see what's really going on here. Is it you being petty, or is it really an issue? So to me, sometimes when people say, well, 学了先得, it's kind of like, let's stop and breathe and let's look at both sides of the story, versus saying, okay, you want a divorce? You got it. You want it? You got it.
I agree, but I also disagree. I feel that the term of 我学了先得 is very circumstantial. I agree in what you're saying, where it is sometimes it's very petty that situations get blown out of proportion. That phrase being used repetitively and time again to condone certain actions that really should be condemned.
But then within time, and it's evolved, and generation after generation using the phrase, they tend to just throw it around like it's just another word, just another phrase, and they just say it that way. Like, that's how I feel like it. I kind of
disagree with that. But if my husband's an alcoholic and he's a drunk, and he has an issue, and you keep telling me to, 我先老先得, how long are you wanting me to be patient? But then what am I being patient
but
for?
I think that's like,
it's circumstantial.
But that's what I'm saying, though. It's like, it's one of those things where you just say it once and be like, okay, guys, let's really examine the situation. And I understand about the whole domestic violence and the abuse of, like, he went to the bar, he got drunk, he came home and he beat me. I'm not okay with that. And you go and the elders say, well, have patience. Just let's see what happens. But if it comes back again in the sense of saying that, well, later on finds out that I was one who provoked it. Like, he came home drunk, but he just went to bed because he's like messed up. But I kept on bugging him. I kept on pushing him. I kept on hitting him. I kept on, egging him on to the point where of course, he's intoxicated. His mind's not there. And he goes, you know what? He swings his hands and hits me. And I'm like, oh my God! He beat me! Oh my gosh!
His pinky hit me.
It hurt. Oh my gosh! But then it's one of those where it's one of those things where I believe it's one of those phrases where you say once, and then if it should happen again, God forbid if it should happen ever again, then yeah, that's the time where you say, you know what, that phrase is not valid no more because we already tried to deal with it once. And I think it's one of those things. Yeah, you shouldn't let it happen more than once because what if that one time's the only time and you get killed? But I think at the same time, you should look at it that way when you're trying to preserve a marriage and try to preserve a life. I mean, how many divorces are there going to be? People nowadays are getting married and divorced like
there's way more divorces than there are marriages.
Like, they're changing underwears. Like, people change underwears as much as they divorce. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I know so.
Well, you want to keep wearing the same underwear for a week?
No, I'm just saying.
That's nasty.
Do you want to sleep in the same bed with the same man every day?
Sleep in the same bed with the same man every day? Yes, but not with the same panties. Ew. Nasty.
But I'm just saying, you change your underwear as much as you change men. That's not okay.
I mean, I get that. But at the same time, that phrase came into a time.
I think it just rings people differently.
But it's like you said, that phrase was used when the older generations cared more about how their reputation than the well-being and the integrity of a couple. That's why I feel like that phrase itself, it does have good meaning, but must be used in the proper context.
Right.
That's why I say that saying and that phrase, it's nice, but it's circumstantial. It has to be used with the right context, and it has to be used with the right intentions.
Right.
But majority of the times, it's not. But that in itself has turned into them inadvertently and blindly condoning abuse.
Exactly. I do see that. And I sound flip-floppy, but I see that. I do.
But all in all, I think that you and I are both on the same page where domestic violence is a serious topic within any community that we at least address or acknowledge that it's there. Mm-hmm. And we need to not cry wolf about certain things because that doesn't help the narrative at all. Mm-hmm. We're not condemning her for her actions or whatnot, but at the same time, her pushing it under the rug like that, it doesn't help move the narrative along of domestic violence within the community should be something that is addressed and should be condemned. It should not be something that's talked about so lightly. Mm-hmm.
But again, these are just our thoughts and our opinions. And with that in mind,
thanks for joining our conversation. This is Linda.
And this has been Flo with But Seriously. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.
I hope you guys join us next time. Bye! Yeet yeet! Sparkle!
Someday you'll know. You know what I'm going to say. I've been feeling this way for far too long.